Today we are going to talk about the layers. So we are inside the design file and we are on the new page, which is an empty page here. And we have layers section empty. As you remember, when there are some layers, you can see the list of all the layers. And here we don't have any layers yet because it's a new page. So in this case, we will add some layers here. So layer is basically an object on the screen, on your big canvas. And there are different type of layers. So it could be a shape, it could be a text, it could be a frame, it could be a line. So everything you are adding to your canvas becomes a layer. So let's start from the simple shape. We'll do a rectangle. And as you see, this rectangle appears to the left here, and it is selected also on the canvas. Let's add another rectangle. And let's change the color so we identify it easier. So here we have two rectangles. And if you see, this one overlaps the one behind it, because on the layer section, it's on the top in respect to the first rectangle. We can change the order in the layer section, and now rectangle 1 becomes on the top in respect to the rectangle 2. Let's add more shapes. Let's add a circle and change the color as well. Now you can see that ellipse 1 is on the top in respect to this 2, and rectangle 1 is on the top in respect to this one. And then we can change the order here. So now we don't see an ellipse at all. Let's move it back. So basically, all the objects that you add to your canvas here will appear here. And the order will be defined by the position in the layers panel. So those that are on top on the layers panel will be also on top on the canvas. Now, another important thing to know here is a frame. So frame is an object, but it's also like a canvas within the big canvas. Basically, it's like a little custom canvas inside your big gray canvas in Figma file. So frame becomes an object that may also contain another object. So for instance, just to make sure that you understand it correctly. So now we have frame, which is another layer, and this frame is on top of these three objects. So if you move here, you can see that it overlaps them because its level is higher than the level of this one. Now we can select all these three objects and move inside this frame. Now the frame contains all these three objects, and if you can see on the layers panel, there is some distance here because now these objects are a part of this big frame. And you also may notice this small arrow here, which makes it possible to expand and collapse the frame section and see what layers this frame includes. So if we move this frame, all the objects inside this frame will move inside with it. And it's because now these objects are relative to the frame by itself. Now, if we add another object, we can see that this object is not a part of the frame, but it's on top of the frame in terms of layers, you can see. And if we move frame, it will be behind this object. And then we also can change the order of these layers like that. And now the frame will be on top. We also may add these objects inside the layer as well. And now this object is part of the layer. But then within the layer, we also have layers, and their order is also important here. Let's change the color here to blue one. And you can see that, okay, now this one is on top, but then we can move it down. And now ellipse 1 is between rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 in terms of layers. So this makes frame as a canvas by itself within the big canvas. What could we do with objects inside the layers section? We can log them. If you log an object, you just click this log icon. You cannot do anything with that, and basically it becomes stable. So it's important to use this feature when you want to make sure that you are not moving something accidentally, or when you just want to select something but not to select this object. So if you see, I selected everything here, but since ellipse 1 is locked, basically the selection happened just to like these 3 objects, and then I can move them and the ellipse stays in the same position. What else I could do? I also can hide an object. It still will be visible inside the layer panel, but it's not be visible on the canvas. It's also an important feature. It could be used more later on, for instance in components, but you just need to make sure that you understand how it works. So I can hide some of them. And also I can hide the whole frame by itself. And since all the objects inside this frame are located inside this frame, when I lock the frame, I cannot move also any objects inside. And if I hide the frame, I also hide all the objects that are inside this frame. And now when I draw a rectangle, it's there. Somewhere here we have a frame, right? And when you hover over this frame here or select it, you see where it's located, but you are not seeing the actual object on the canvas. I can move on, and then you can see it like that. Now, if we add the text, for instance, here is the text. You can also see it as a layer inside the layers panel, but it has a different icon here. So icons of layers representing the type of layer. So here we have text, here we have rectangle, and then here we have frame, here we have ellipse. This also allows you to navigate easier between different layers and understand, okay, this is text. Also I can add pen, vector, and you will see that it also has a different icon. The more interesting part, that this icon is actually representing the actual shape of the object. So if you can see rectangle 3 here, it's like vertical object and we have a vertical icon, while rectangles here are more squared and we have a squared icon here. This is pretty amazing small feature, but it's very cool. That's all what I wanted to tell about layers. We probably will have something else to say in the future videos, but for now it's all. Thank you and looking forward to see you in the next videos.